welcome to The Leap of Consciousness. This is our 12th and final episode in this series, and we are so honored and grateful that you chose to deepen your spiritual growth and join us on this journey where we shared many very intense concepts for people on all levels of their journey to dive in and go places. So we hope that that journey continues as this wraps up our 12 episodes. And today we are going to dive deep into living spiritually sovereign. I think Ashley would agree with me that living sovereign is a concept where you make choice all the time to choose peace by conflict resolving what it is that's in your way. And I think there's going to be a few gold nuggets that everyone can take away today. And as you know, I'm Annie Kalatkar, and with me is Ashley Lee, our other show host. Take it away, Ashley.
We are so excited to share living spiritually sovereign, right? What does that mean? Like, it is so significant to us to really be here present in the world to support this process moving through all of humanity. We really do. We're so excited to express how you can paint your life, right? For example, but we're also so excited to express how you're going to consciously create a new world. And so we wanted to begin with the idea of expressing what is sovereignty, right? There's so many meanings that we can look up about sovereignty and what that truly means for everyone involved, the individual, and then all of us together as a whole human race. And in this, we wanted to focus in the areas about how we individually can start to have clarity within inside of ourselves to really experience conscious choice in our world and to express it. And so we're gonna take this apart just a teeny bit and talk about, so it's the ability to express. That means orally, right, talking, or written or text or email. But it can also be how we express emotionally with our heart, with our being, how we express mentally with our verbal and nonverbal levels of communication, right? And through that, we create conscious choice. And what do we mean by conscious choice? We mean awake, aware about the choices we create. And some of those choices are good, and some of those choices are less favorable, right? And so it's inside that conscious choice or that awareness of the choice. So we could choose, like, for example, punishment, just to be done with it and move on. I take the punishment, I'll take the digs, I'll take my due if I did something not so great, right? And so we have choices in many, many different formats. And inside of that, we have the opportunity to really create the world we choose to paint. And so we came up with this really beautiful graphic, right, to illustrate, right, Annie, how conscious choice is a consciousness.
It sure is. In fact, I recognize that our index finger, our pointer finger, is the will, like, I will this to happen. And when we bring our intention and all of this consciousness that we are into an intention, we begin to become creators. So when I embody the ability to express my true nature of love, which I consciously choose to emanate to the world, I accept responsibility as I paint my experience, knowing I am the proof I choose to create.
Right? And that's just amazing, because when we step into that knowing, then we know we can create that change even before it occurs. We know that we can do it. And then when we know we can do it, we have clarity about how to continue that process of manifestation. And the next thing we talk about is, like, really opening to living spiritually sovereign. And what does that mean, right? I love to say I open, because when I say that, it really allows me to let go of all of my self-judgments about me. And then I can move out of doubt and concern, and I can't do this and I can't do that. And it moves into, wow, I really open up to the world around me to share with me what I may not be able to see in the moment. And so how do we open ourselves to living spiritually sovereign? Well, the first thing is, and this is quite a tongue twister in the C words and consciousness, but I'll just say it out loud so that we can all hear it inside and hear it vibrate through our very bodies. Really, the conscious choice requires us to consciously choose in every moment to conflict resolve our consciousness challenges. Now that sounds like a really busy painting, doesn't it?
It's awesome. I think that's called onomatopoeia.
Right.
Or alliteration of sound, something like that.
Right.
But it's true. Really, I was just thinking about if we make conscious choice to open to how we can notice where in our lives we are not living spiritually sovereign, we get more information about what our consciousness is expressing. So I consciously choose to stand in spiritual sovereignty consciousness by feeling liberated from the suppression of conflicts. I now consciously choose to conflict resolve by standing in my power, proclaiming sovereignty to all whom I had previously given my loyalty. You know, I want to share with everyone that Ashley is quite the loyalty expert. She has pointed out to me ways that I had no idea I was being loyal. And when we're loyal, we actually bind ourselves to a concept, to a belief, to a person, to person, places, things. And you are no longer spiritually sovereign when you do that.
Because we're really giving our power away, right? We're giving our own freedom of discerning and freedom of understanding of what it is we are choosing to love. We become loyal to that because that somehow is reciprocated back to us, and it's this give and take, or this take and take and take and take from each end that becomes distorted over time. And so when we can release loyalty and really say, instead of being loyal to you, instead of honoring you in the way of loyalty, I can say, I actually honor you in the true love that you bring forward to this world. I love presencing myself with you each and every day. I choose truthfully and consciously choose to be here, present in every moment, whether it's kind of favorable or unfavorable. Those aren't the reason why I'm loyal, right? Because what we want to do is we want to release the reasons why we have to stick together, right? We want to choose to be together in love all the time. And in that choice, that gives us the freedom to understand that I chose to be here. I didn't choose to be here because I'm loyal to something or I'm going to get something in return.
And loyalty does close doors to new potentials and opportunities. So it does pay to be new and fresh in every moment. And one of the ways that we can be new and fresh is to renew our daily commitment to practice self-love, because we do need to release our self-judgments. They are a massive obstacle to living spiritually sovereign. So creating a life committed to self-love in every moment, regardless of the consciousness challenges we experience as constraints in our lives, knowing we have the tools to conflict resolve the discord to create lasting inner peace, strengthen our intention with our daily practice. We have to
Is
be liberated from our own self-hatred, self-rejection, self-denigration, on and on and on, in order to free our own energies up to making that choice to live spiritually sovereign. Because if we are, entangled with ourselves, we are somewhat dead in the water. we're not moving forward. We're staying stuck. So it's a very beautiful first step to take, is to let go of those self-judgments.
It's beautiful. And that really does bring in that self-love to allow us to really open to the next step. Because it really is challenging, right, to present oneself and being present in that moment. When our body, our being is so littered by self-judgments or judgments of the situation, for us then to be present in the moment, to really create that connection and create that ability to really have conscious choice in the world.
And I love that this, it looks like a mother because they look very similar. I love that she got down on the floor at his level and made connection to presence herself. And in doing so, she was able to take his perspective better. I mean, that really is powerful. So as I recognize that my presence matters, I consciously choose to presence myself inside the relating while promoting heart-centered communication. In this moment, I now have the opportunity to conflict resolve any consciousness challenges before me to enhance the awareness of relating. We have to be aware that we are relating to make conscious choice. I know that sounds like a dumb statement, but if we're not aware that we are relating and making conscious choice to come from our true nature of love, how can we presence ourselves? It's that much harder.
It's really true. And then once we presence ourselves, we open to this opportunity that we're going to become consciously relating. And inside this conscious relating, we really increase our awareness again, that we, just like you had shared so beautifully, that we are making a choice to relate rather than we have to relate, or I'm demanded to relate, or somebody came to me and had to talk to me, or I had to talk to them about getting something done. We can actually choose to be present to this conscious relating. And not only like in this graphic that it shows that two people are consciously relating and being present for one another, but what if we're present for ourselves, right? Like that inner boardroom member, right? Let's say we have an inner boardroom member that is challenged or wants to disassociate or wants to go over to the corner and says, I really don't want to play this game. I'm not really interested. And so what happens is not all of us inside of ourselves is ready to consciously relate in the outside world. And so as I acknowledge my true nature of love, I choose to relate to others and my life circumstances and witness the love present in others, even as they may express consciousness challenges. And I choose to conflict resolve any discord that I might come across as I become aware inside the relating. And that's what we're talking about, is being inside the relating. We're being aware that we're relating. We're being aware that we're conscious. We're being aware that there might be a conflict, either inside myself or inside the other that I'm choosing to relate to. And so it seems like, right, there's a lot to consider, there's a lot to juggle, there's a lot to overwhelm. But what if we do this already inside of how we interact with ourselves and each other every day? And what we're doing is we're putting language or words or ways in which to share this information and wisdom and understanding so that we can get clear, because then we can have conscious choice all along the relating. In whatever awareness we're in, we have conscious choice to shift this around if it's not going the way we'd like to see it, or it's not going in the way we'd like to share in a loving way versus a fearful way. And so now when we're inside that relating and we have a conflict, we can then move to the conflict resolution process in that moment. And many times we may feel it's too difficult to juggle. But what if in those moments during your life that you have a conflict, but you've pulled yourself away from it? right? You said, okay, well, not now. I'm gonna carry this conversation later because it's too conflictual. So I choose later. So in that later time, when I go into self-reflection, this is when we can practice and deepen our ability to acknowledge the conflicts, to release judgments from all angles, to forgive those judgments we had about ourselves and others, and then to go through that process of proclaiming sovereignty, and then to shine our truth. We can practice this stepwise conflict resolution in a moment when we have more time or more space to really create this awareness transformation, right? And when we do that, then when we go to meet the other person, our energy has changed because we're no longer, passing judgments to the other person or pounding ourselves with our own judgments that impact that relieving.
That's right. I mean, self-judgments is like taking a taser to yourself, and judgments of others like taking a taser to someone else.
It is. And then when we get used to conflict resolving, we actually start to free our energy. We start to free our mind. We start to free our heart. We start to open the energies of life, of love that flow through us naturally. And when we do that, it actually adds more clarity, more peace, more calmness in our life. And then, I don't know, the next day comes up and more consciousness challenges impact us. Why? Because they're littered, literally, through anxiety. And we don't really realize this or recognize this, but these consciousness challenges are really just fear states of being. And they pull us away from our true nature, which is love. And so when we recognize, oh, I've got spoon feeding, for example, I want somebody to give me the answer. So when I do that, what happens is then I prevent myself from being a conscious creator. I have to be dependent upon somebody else giving me the answers or the information or the product or whatever it is I'm looking for to be spoon-fed to, right? So when we allow ourselves to let go of these consciousness challenges, we actually have a deeper, more rich, more inviting, more aware, more open, and more loving relationships with ourselves and others. And that's what we're really here to really accumulate and bring together for everyone about how to create your life living spiritually sovereign.
Another way to look at this is this whole program, the system of clearing the energies and the consciousness challenges, it's a love program. You are making choice to restore your true nature of love, so it's in every interaction you have with yourself and others.
It's really true. And so let's focus on just a moment on some of those obstacles that impede us from living spiritually sovereign. And surely they go right back to what? Conflicts. But really, conflicts are generated when we present consciousness challenges in ourselves or in our lives or in the way we relate with other people or the world around us, right? We can have consciousness challenges to the earth too, and to nature and to animals and plants and everything else. And so from these consciousness challenges, when we're in a fear state of being, a fear state of awareness, we start manufacturing conflicts. And that's why we want to resolve those conflicts so that we can get to the consciousness challenges and really reframe them truthfully, deeply. And we found that the number one way inside the conflict resolution was to release judgments. And when we release judgments, then it's much easier to own what it is we're dealing with. It's much easier to navigate it. It's much easier to understand through compassion what's happening. And so in some of these obstacles are lack of commitment to creating inner peace. Why? Because we could believe that there's no way, my life is too busy, my life is too crazy, I can never have inner peace. But really, that's just a belief system. It's not really the truth. It's just what you've believed and manufactured thus far in your life. That's all. And it's that simple to start to really break down, change, and create it in your journey called creating spiritual sovereignty. Yeah. Those self-limiting beliefs and not proclaiming sovereignty from your conflict. Right?
I'll tell
So
you,
we
one of
want
the first ones I let go of was excuse consciousness.
to, right? That's
It's
an awesome one.
it is a great one to let go of, because then your commitment can be stronger. And and it keeps us to get out of this next consciousness challenge that's before us, called ignoring consciousness. And ignoring is denial with suppression, and probably even a little veiling if you want to make it go away so others don't even know that you ignored it. It is really a deep consciousness challenge that really needs some addressing for the purpose of gaining additional clarity about how we are hiding obstacles right before our eyes.
It's
So
really true. I mean, take for a moment ignoring in this where there's two siblings that are definitely having a conflict and are definitely both of them in their own unique ways of expressing their emotions, right? Are wanting to cope with this because they feel powerless that they can't change that. And so they have a lot of consciousness problems. And what they'll present here mainly is ignoring. One person is ignoring the other one, and the other one feels very powerless to make that difference. But what happens when we actually ignore? You mentioned it so well, Annie, and so beautifully, is we actually veil from ourselves and the other person. It's literally like putting an energetic veil right over your body or their body and saying, I'm ignoring you. And like literally, I can't see you, I can't hear you, you're not impacting me, this doesn't hurt me, I'm going to go away. And when we veil each other, we don't recognize that. Then it's harder to relate. It's harder to see each other's energy. It's hard to be compassionate to their pain.
I think
It's
at
hard.
that point, there's so many hurt feelings and other consciousness challenges that come up in the triggered moment of being ignored. And love always takes the other party's perspective. There is no ignoring with love. Love is compassionate, and love takes into consideration and takes a true assessment through the eyes of the other person or through the heart of the other person. So as I pretend it didn't happen to avoid my feelings, I realize I hurt myself when I suppress these feelings of discord to further avoid it. I now choose to acknowledge my coping when I feel I can't change it, and release ignoring as an opportunity to reality negotiate with myself and others. So let's say that the big sister really didn't want to make time for the little one who wanted a playmate, and she could have reality negotiated a little better and set the listening, saying, hey, I've got a midterm tomorrow. I have to study. I can't play right now, but if you wait for an hour or two or after dinner, I can probably make time to play then. Would that be okay with you? And this is how we help each other through communication to get out of ignoring and into conscious relating from inside that space of love. And if the little girl truly understood and heard what the big sister was saying, her heart would open and say, oh my gosh, yes, I want you to do really well on your test. So go
Right.
ahead, I'll wait till later. And then this whole tiff could just disappear or not even happen at all. And self-limiting beliefs often prevent us from having those conscious conversations, because we may think, well, I don't have time to explain to you why I can't be with you right now and why I have to ignore you. And truly, those beliefs strangle us. They cut through our vocal regions energetically, preventing us from speaking our truth from love. And when we set up these conditions that are limitations in our life, we diminish the potentials and the opportunities before us. And it's just because we want to choose something that's safe, right? Because we have fears. So self-limiting beliefs are all about keeping those fears stuck, which means you're keeping your obstacles in place. So you cannot have spiritual growth if you continue to embrace and embody your self-limiting beliefs. So you can reframe all of this by saying, I now choose to presence my challenges, which is my fears, to support the shift in my consciousness, to be the creator that I am. When we go back to the truth of who we are, that our true nature is love, that we are the I am, we begin to recognize we are the source, and source never has conditions. I mean, they're just, it's pronoia. It's flowing from deep inside you. There is no limitation. It's only fear that puts limitations in place, and fear does shut you down to problem solving or opening to pronoia to rush in.
It's
And
really
it does,
true.
yeah.
And this level of satiation consciousness too really impacts us from living spiritually sovereign. Because when we have the need that we can't get enough, or we can't eat enough, or we can't love enough, or we can't be loved enough, or we can't be touched enough, or we can't get enough binge watching on TV, I don't know, anything. When we have that, what happens is it really moves us away from conscious choice and moves us into habitual, reactive, and unconscious or unaware behavior patterns, thought patterns, and emotional patterns that keep us stuck inside pain and suffering in our lives. So the idea is, when I believe I need things outside of me in order to feel safe, happy, and loved, and I feel denied access to that thing I need, then I am never happy, full, or satisfied. And so satiation consciousness would be really challenging when we don't feel satiated, when we don't feel full. So what is the opposite of satiation? It's really self-love, right? It's the opportunity to recognize that all the love that I need comes from within me. And when I'm outside experiencing ice cream or some extra TV watching, or a boyfriend that, fills my cup up and makes me feel loving, really what happens is that stuff is artificial, and it really doesn't fulfill you because you have to keep coming back. And that's where that satiation idea comes from.
It's such a great example of a self-limiting belief.
It really is.
Yeah.
So what if we could enjoy ice cream, enjoy binge watching maybe for a little while on TV because we would like to just relax or learn something new, or have an intimate partner in a relationship. And what if we experience all those with our cups full? Because then the ice cream tastes even richer versus fulfilling a need I feel like I can never get enough of.
That's what I call a teaser, not a pleaser.
There you go. So when I consciously release my belief that I am not enough and choose to realize that I am whole and complete, and knowing that my true nature of love is expressed in every moment, in every way, I can then begin to really embody and notice that the ice cream tastes better, that the TV watching had more value than I ever thought was helpful, or that a boyfriend or an intimate relationship was really fulfilling because we both came to the relationship full of love, expressing more abundant love than we ever knew was possible with each other. So those are the operational ideas that we can move through these types of consciousness challenges, really to deeply embody and live that sovereign beings that we are, these sovereign beings that we are. So let's talk for a moment about proclaiming sovereignty. How do we proclaim it? Because we can say everything and really never mean it, right? So how do we create these sayings and these words into meanings, right? So here's a great one, Annie, right? I am complete.
This is so great. I mean, clearly she is triggered, consciousness challenges spewing left, right, and center, beliefs, the mortar and the bricks of judgments. And we have this young man who is sitting there very centered, grounded, who has recognized there's a conflict present, has maybe intuited the process of conflict resolving and recognize, like, I don't need to judge this, and this is not about me, so I don't need to make self-judgments. And really moving through that process of getting to the point where it's like, I see the truth in this reality, and I'm okay. I'm complete. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to judge this conflict. And it really is a lovely illustration of what it means to just be holding that space of neutrality. He's really doing a great job. I was shocked that we could find a photo like this to illustrate it, quite honestly. But I'm sure you have more to add to that. But I really see it. And I think we all get the idea of being no compete. There's no defensiveness there. There's no
Right.
judgment in his body language. He's open. And he's saying, I solemnly choose to be complete with the conflict that was once before me. Inside the consciousness challenge, I just chose to resolve. My resolution becomes complete in the moment, and every moment thereafter, each time that I release deeper judgments related to the focused conflict resolution. So even though he even though he conflict resolves judgments in the moment that it's happening, and maybe even preceding this, he may a day later, a week later, a month later, a year later, 10 years later, have a aha moment, and some memory comes back and he realizes, oh, there is more to this conflict. So I am committed to being no compete. He is making sure that every thread in the tapestry of spiritual entanglement is cleared. That is his commitment to love, that I will not judge another being whose true nature is love. I will not witness to their consciousness challenges.
Right. And in that, I'm complete, meaning even though, so what we're really saying is I am done. I am complete.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I am done, like I'm done with you and I'm setting boundaries and I'm walking away. No, he's not walking away, is he? He's not setting boundaries. What he's doing is being open and non-judgmental and saying, I am complete with this issue. When possibly he's saying to this one, when you calm down, when you're okay, when you're more centered, we'll talk about the aspects of the conflict that created the triggered behaviors, the triggered emotions. But in the meantime, what he's doing inside of himself is creating this opportunity to say, I am all complete with this. Even if it shows up again and again and again in my life, I am complete with this kind of interaction, this kind of consciousness challenge, this kind of conflict. And what's really valuable here is there's no more energy. He's not giving any more energy to this triggered state of being. But he is being compassionate, isn't he? And the compassion is the openness, the peacefulness, the calm, the centeredness, the absence of judgments. And so in this next step, I am no compete, which you really, really wove that tapestry really well in sharing how I am complete, I am no compete. It's kind of a simultaneous activity, even though we broke it up into parts and pieces. It really is a simultaneous activity. So meaning I am no compete, I have no judgments. I'm open-armed, I'm open-hearted. I recognize this conflict may be uncomfortable. I recognize this consciousness challenge is not serving you, me, or us. And at the same time, no, I'm no compete, so that we can actually move through these consciousness challenges and these conflicts so that we can actually truly render what it is we wanted to do, which is be together, right, in this picture. So when I consciously choose to embody spiritual sovereignty, I no longer experience judgments of competitions about the conflicts I had perceived between us. As I determine the consciousness challenges I once believed, in or was true about this situation. So I ongoingly commit to releasing my judgments as a form of no compete. And when I do that, then there's no more energy to continue the conflict. It just is like, even if one person's still doing it, the other person's like, no, no, I'm all done. I'm complete. I'm no compete. I am done. And so what happens to this one is, if this one wants to stay in the relationship or the conversation, it's going to naturally calm down and follow tempo and support and understanding. And they may or may not ever get to the deepest conflict resolution you want. And at the same time, though, you did diffuse it, you did de-escalate it, you did come to a greater place of a better, deeper conversation.
And I think if we look at competing with each other, the moment we cast a judgment about the other party, we immediately have elevated ourselves above the other as knowing better, coming from higher ground, etc. So no compete means I am coming down off my self-made pedestal back to a position of equality where I see that your true nature is love and my true nature is love. We don't need to compete with each other about who's better, because that's just a game of benevolence versus benevolence. Love
It
versus
really
love.
is. And so this part that really brings this fourth step of conflict resolution, proclaiming sovereignty, is I am sovereign of the conflict I had once chosen, I had believed was true inside the consciousness challenge I had experienced. And so that really shares with us, it may not render complete and total peace for you and for everyone and everything else. But in the moment, we're here to support you in really understanding the peace that's in you. And even if it's just a teeny, teeny bit, it's still more than what you had before, or a more escalated conflict and consciousness challenge. And so as we start to render or create peace subsequently by releasing these judgments and proclaiming sovereignty, we really have the opportunity to embody, vibrate, feel, see, experience that peace grow within inside of us and grow with those who we are amongst each other, creating that level of influence. And so when I notice discord from consciousness challenges and the resulting conflicts in my awareness, I have a tool called conflict resolution I choose to utilize to heal judgmental experiences. With the discord from the judgments healed, peace truly unfolds naturally.
It sure does. And it changes everything, because your inner monologue becomes this soliloquy of peace, that you are comforting yourself through your day with words of peace, words and intentions that generate peace. And then you start to realize, oh my gosh, I've made conscious choice every moment to be inside the space of peace.
And then when we're in that peaceful state, right? Peace really represents to a lot of people maybe the absence of stress or the absence of pain and suffering. But what if peace really is this very neutral, beautiful, blissful state where you're just relaxing in the peace, in the neutrality? And what do we do to maintain, right, that neutrality, right? We have this long-winded empowerment called the ability to embody neutrality in the midst of chaos, because we actually can have peace in the middle of chaos. As I embody the state of non-judgment, I am able to hold peace inside the relationship for others to become, for others, with myself, to become neutral in their perspective as we join together inside service to us. So we may not have to act exactly like this person, but we can surely emanate this energy out to the world that we may consider a little chaotic towards us.
I was thinking the same thing, but I bet there's some people who are very humorous that could go, wait a moment, people, I want to go neutral for this. And they do a mudra and close their eyes for a brief second. And everyone knows, oh, choose neutrality. I mean, we could be supporting each other to move in that direction as a society where we make conscious choice to go neutral. And I think there are people that appear neutral, but really they are in a form of learned helplessness where they're like, I don't know what to do. So they make no decision and know nothing, and they appear neutral, but they're really not. So you can.
I agree with you. And even if it was taken out of social context and everybody's serious about it, got upset, it was really funny because she's so funny that we could actually promote laughter. And
Yes.
laughter begins to start to render the chaos, render the stress a little bit easier, a little bit more gentle. I'll try that next time. And really what it renders us, really this ability to maintain peace, even inside chaos or other unfavorable situations, is we really start to begin to open the energy, the space, the envelope, the opportunity for creating unlimited potential consciousness. And it really is true. Most of us don't know how to get to this level of unlimited potential consciousness because we got so inundated with the stress around us. But now we invite you truly, go ahead and make a mudra. Go ahead and say, you know, I'm just going to take a moment here just to change the energy of what we're doing because it's a little outrageous. Right? And then what we do is we start to calm everything down and more potentials start to unfold in our environment than we ever thought was possible. And so when we really do embody and through a complete awareness of neutrality, I now choose to create an experience of limitless potential. From the opportunity presented before me, I consciously choose to experience life absence of judgment. As I witness the potential unfolding, I trust the embodiment of my experience. So it really does begin to naturally bring in trust and faith. We don't have to make it happen. So let's talk for a moment about spiritual entanglements. I think with spiritual entanglements, one area that I noticed that was really significant in breaking down conscious relating and breaking down opportunity to really create this energetic pleasure with the world and with each other and with ourselves was having this idea of self-righteousness and really blaming the other person for them being wrong and me being right and them being wrong and them other people being wrong and everybody's wrong and nobody gets it, nobody's being good. I had a discussion with somebody earlier today that was really pertinent about this. Why are we teaching the opportunity to be kind? Isn't being kind our natural state of being? Why would we have to teach it? What actually we might be focused on is maybe teaching how fear states of being prevents us to not being kind. What if we focus that way versus focus on being kind? We already know how to be kind. We already are naturally kind. As babies, we aren't born mean. As babies, we don't know what it is to be mean. We learn to be mean through fear. And so this idea, and then we, you know, the kind one says, you're not being kind, right? That's self-righteousness. And that self-righteousness then begins to perpetuate bad behavior. Now all of a sudden the self-righteous is being bad, right? And so it really doesn't help anyone to render this form of blaming to anyone or even ourselves. Sometimes we can be self-righteous with ourselves, right? Those deep self-judgment. So in my mind, I am right, you are wrong, and you need fixing. What we do to render this and change this and shift this around is to say to ourselves something like this. I consciously release my judgment that I know better than you and open to experiencing your perspective or your point of view. I now choose to have compassion without judgment for the situation or the person involved, to actually see and open my eyes to seeing the bigger picture. Now, that we could talk for like days, right, on self-righteousness, but I sense that this was really important because this self-righteousness creates massive spiritual entanglements on all kinds of levels, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, in all kinds of dimensions of awareness. This sort of thing goes through our very consciousness throughout our whole being that impacts our ability to relate.
It's so true, Ashley.
And then my other one, which I personally, this was on my journey, learning benevolence versus benevolence. I really didn't understand it, and I started to see it on a bigger picture in the realm, which I think this graphic shares so well, in the realm of religious indoctrination. And in the and I haven't found one religion on planet Earth yet that doesn't have one form of benevolence versus benevolence. It's where my religion is better than your religion, or my God is better than yours, or I'm more powerful than you, or let's bring it down to even a human level. The benevolence versus benevolence that's so rampant throughout society is so significant. I didn't realize it until I opened to understanding it in all the different genres of life that I had experienced. I had no idea that literally teasing is benevolence versus benevolence. I had no idea that calling someone out and telling them wrong and I'm better is benevolence versus benevolence, even if they're not really that wrong. Right? Or I'm of a higher frequency than you, or I'm vibrating at a higher level, or I'm more spiritually knowledgeable than you are. All of those things are benevolence versus benevolence. And what they do is they radically create separation. And when it's not in our true nature to be separate from one another, even though we're different individuated human beings. Our true nature is to come together, is to work together, is to love, is to support, is to share, is to collaborate, is to unify. That is our natural in life. And yet we separate that call by calling each other out and telling someone you're wrong and I'm better and all of this, or just thinking it, emoting it, being it, walking away. All of those things. My tribe is more powerful than your tribe. All of this stuff. It renders massive discord, conflict, and consciousness challenges. And so we recognize right through all of our research and development that when you possess these two things called righteous anger and benevolence versus benevolence, it prevents you from being your true nature of love. Really, really powerful. So we support you in really releasing or noticing where you might have this in your life so that frees you from these senses of spiritual entanglements. And this one I love so much, Yanni. It has so many different values.
I know. I think we've all been there where we've had to excuse ourselves and lean up against a wall and look upwards and go, oh my God, what did I just do? So when we fail to recognize the mess that we've wrapped ourselves up in, we get challenged to understand the energies that are involved because we lose our clarity, right? The judgments that fly left, right, and center. We lose our clarity about what really matters and what actually created the conflict. So we can reframe this perspective that we have that's just all foggy with, I consciously choose to acknowledge my conflicts and those I entangled myself with, right? Because we may have entangled ourselves with other people, a group, a collective. And then we commit to conflict resolving that which is seen and unseen. When we have spiritual entanglement consciousness, we often don't realize that we keep digging that hole deeper and deeper and deeper with more and more and more judgments. And if we go into agreement with other people and their judgments, we widen the hole. So we often can't see all of those angles or perspectives that we've gone into agreement with, and it gets so muddied and murkied, we don't know which way to turn. But there is a graceful way to empower yourself. It's like, oh, I've created spiritual entanglements with others, and I'm not even sure how I did it, but I acknowledge it. I acknowledge my part in this. And I am committed to coming from my true nature of love and beginning the conflict resolution process while I open even more to noticing the ways in which I couldn't see things, where I had denial or suppression or veiling. And then as we peel off those layers, the spiritual entanglements become less and less. And as we heal our consciousness challenges, that tapestry of judgments and self-limiting beliefs and other beliefs, it just starts to go away, and that veil gets thinned and we can see through it. And then we find our path back into our true natured state of love.
It's really true. It's beautiful that we can do that and really clear those entanglements. And we wanted to talk for a moment about feeling and living liberated from fear.
Oh my goodness, this is a big one. Time can be perceived in two different ways, but we're going to talk about time as a liability, right? And we may have fear that we've taken on too much and we end up in overwhelm. And then we could trigger ourselves, and other consciousness challenges start bubbling up, right? Like a fountain. And it just overflows and it gets out of control and it gets messy, right? And we begin to connect with our self-limiting beliefs that we're incapable of completing some of these duties that we may have taken on. And then we start making excuses for ourselves that we can't do our conflict resolution. I don't have time. I've got all these other things I have to do that I'm responsible for. And we expand and grow the overwhelm like yeast that's proofing, okay? And we want to take a step back and just say, whoa, time out, literally. What am I doing? What am I saying? Because I think all of us can agree there have been moments, days, maybe it's a really deeply ingrained chronic pattern where you find yourself saying over and over again, I don't know how I'm going to get all this done. I don't have time. I don't have time for what I need to do. You may have a belief that I don't get to have what I want to have, or I don't get to take care of my needs. And so we have codependency problems that we have to give time to others. We may be doing in service to us. We have a myriad of reasons why we compromise ourselves with this belief that time is a liability. And so it's all rooted in fear. And if we were to go deep down the roots of that tree called time is a liability, you will hit fear after fear after fear. So this is what I like to call an umbrella fear, right? It's the overarching concept. And so when I assume all the duties I consented to, I respond with overwhelm. And the reframe has to begin somewhere. So we looked at this one. I consciously choose to release my belief that I am incapable of completing the demands life presents. I now reframe time from being a liability to being an asset through distinctive problem-solving consensus with all people involved. So distinctive problem-solving consensus will actually begin to tease apart the tapestry that created time as a liability and bring other people into the conversation so that perhaps they can start standing in their power and not being so codependent and be interdependent, as we love to talk about in the concept called in service to us. So I think if we go to the next slide, we're going to have.
It's so true. And so thank you for presencing that, because really, when we utilize distinctive problem solving consensus and we go that's my goal, that's what I want to do, I really want to be distinctive with everybody involved, it starts to open up a conversation to the others involved so that I have time to go to the gym, right? Or I have a moment to go to the gym, or I have space to go to the gym, right? Space inside my schedule. If we start looking at time in these different constructs, we can also start to really realize that time truly does create an asset for our lives. And it does for everyone else we're involved with. We just didn't realize because of time that we couldn't have that conversation with everyone involved that we felt was maybe taking our time or stealing our time or making our time less valuable and their time more valuable, that kind of
I
thing.
like how that time is a liability is right between the eyes, because like we're branded with an energetic message. We do run around this world looking and acting like we don't have time for our lives.
Right.
And so it is like wearing a big message on our forehead that says, time is a liability. So
I can't
let's
control it. I can't do anything with it. I'm a victim of my own demise. I'm a victim of my own compromise. I'm a victim of my own schedule. And
yes,
actually we can actually start to reframe that and change that.
and empower ourselves and embody a different concept called time as an asset consciousness. This is where we fold time, and folding time Ashley is extraordinarily gifted at. And we look at this as a way that even though you are, for example, using this time to relax in a hammock under the trees, there is a multitude of other things that are being accomplished at the same time. But we can easily destroy that beautiful, empowered moment by going into self-limiting beliefs, negative emotions like guilt for taking a moment to enjoy that relaxed state of being, which actually, as Ashley, as a medical professional, can tell you, it does amazing things for your body, doesn't it?
It really does, right? So on a physical level, when you're taking time to support yourself or give yourself self-love, which includes physical self-love, you're actually improving your body's physiology, right? Our heart rate calms down, our blood pressure softens, our breathing deepens and softens. We become more connected with our body and our reality. We get less disassociated. We start noticing the coping we're doing. We're recognizing that we can reframe. We start to have clarity of thoughts, clarity of heart. Our emotions start to become more regulated. We become more wiser on how to utilize them and what they're about. We learn to even maybe take a moment to meditate and connect to our inner guidance, our inner boardroom. We can even go into a larger expanded awareness of connecting to all that is around us, like the trees, the wind, the earth, what we believe in spiritually. We can do all of those connections when we take that time for self-love and really live liberated from fear. And then we wanted to talk about developing a relationship inside your true nature, because this is where we really like to focus after watching these episodes that we've so humbly and gratefully created for all of you to experience, is that really we want you to develop this relationship living inside your true nature in every moment of every day. And so remembering that the journey is the destination, right? That many times we get so stuck in our busy worlds and our busy doing and our time constraints that we don't recognize that our life is this journey. And sometimes it's more challenging or unfavorable than others. But now, over these last 12 weeks, we've supported you in really understanding and developing these deeper tools to actually have more peace on your journey, to have more soliloquies and moments and inner monologue times that you're able to convene with your inner boardroom, your higher self, your higher emanation of your life force energy that really creates this spiritual sovereignty unfolding. And in that, it really does awaken the life inside of ourselves. It awakens our consciousness. It awakens our awareness so that our awareness never goes to sleep again. We never get hijacked or suppressed or when we can bring up a sophisticated, a crucial conversation with somebody that's based in compassion and love and understanding. It allows us to walk out the front door really choosing to create the life we're really wanting as spiritual embodiments to come into our physical body to express in life. That's what we really sense and feel is spiritual sovereignty. And inside of that sovereignty, in our physical bodies, in our world, we get to consciously create our world now. We get to have clarity, even when there's discord, even when there's conflict or problems. And as we've learned to live now in this future time, in this now moment and in the future, as my cup is full of love, I know that I embody neutrality and presence myself in this 0 point, this point of no judgment, to organically experience internal peace, stillness, knowing that love flows through my body, my very being at every moment of every day, even when I don't feel well. And I recognize that at that time, I truly am absent of judgments and agenda. And from the stillness, I subsequently choose to create the empowered being that I am. And inside that, then we stand in these empowered ways of being. And whoa, watch out, world. Your giftedness begins to share and be emanated and shine in the world. We begin to live our purpose, our passion, our mission, our vision in life that we know is a seed in our heart ready to be emulated out to the physical world. We invite you to practice this every day. So that as we take that leap of consciousness, as we change, notice and change our conflicts through the conflict resolution process, and notice all the consciousness challenges based in fear we may have created, they may have created, somebody created. We recognize that we can move through them and consciously embody spiritual, eternal sovereignty. So we have 5 ways to help you really discover becoming spiritually sovereign by painting the life you have always dreamed of creating. On our website at leapofconsciousness.com, we have several different tools that we wanted to support everyone understanding this wisdom, this knowingness, this deep truth about who we are and what we're able to create for ourselves and each other. Is we have an email, you can create your own by signing up for our email library system called the Conscious Choice Challenge 101. You receive 101 emails. You don't have to read them all. You should get to keep them in your library so that you and your inner guidance can access them when you feel like you have a consciousness challenge that you can't pinpoint or know. So you can say to your inner guidance, you can say, I'm having this conflict or this consciousness challenge, and it's about me. I know it's about me, and I don't know what it is. What's the number? You can tune in and your higher guidance can say 86. So I go to Conscious Choice CCC at number 86, and there it is in my library, and I can pull it up, I can read about it, I can see the graphic, and I can reframe this consciousness challenge. So it's a library toolbox just for you. Our second one is a complimentary ebook. It's an empowerment ebook so that when we notice the consciousness challenge, consciously resolve it, stand in that 0 pointing, that precipice of creation, we can now look at some ideas of empowerments we can step into to really bring forward and really manifest the world we choose to create by actually truly accessing those conflicts that might have been created, but not from a fear state of being, but from an empowered state of love.
I like to think of it as expressing our giftedness. And I had some aha moments in, designing these graphics with you, Ashley, because in writing out what they mean, I had these moments of like, oh, I do that when I'm not triggered. And it was really good because then I was like, oh, wow, okay, I want to express that more because I know how to do that. And it really kind of brought the crystal into focus for me in terms of understanding how empowerments work when we are not bogged down by our consciousness challenges.
Right. Right. It is so beautiful. And on our third opportunity, we really wanted to like cuddle you with support and love and understanding about how to work with these. So we picked these, we chose these many different ways of illustrating how to take this leap of consciousness. And this third one is one of our favorites. It's really a remote transmission energy healing program. And so it airs in your private space at 9 p.m. in your time zone all around the globe. And it's an energy transmission that's directly related to you. And the two of us get together and we create an energy package, an energy transmission package that is sent directly to you, just for you, in supporting you each and every week, so that your consciousness challenges are supported, more understood. You're able to learn how to release them in your everyday life. And then you're able to step into these empowered states of being, really, truly painting the life you chose to create.
And there is a reminder email on the Tuesday before your Wednesday transmission to support you in connecting with the theme of the meditation that you get to create with your energy packet as you explore it. And it deepens the lesson that we have presented inside each of these Awake TV Leap of Consciousness TV show episodes, so that you have in the email, you get more notes of understanding of these concepts with some of these graphics that we have produced. So you end up with a beautiful asset in your healing library.
It's really true. And with the TV shows, right, what happens is when you go on Awake TV Network.live and you look us up either with Ashley Lee or Leap of Consciousness, you'll be able to find our 12-week series, right? And you can bunch them all together. You can watch them individually. You can watch them week by week. And what we designed was week by week. So week one of the TV show matches with the energy transmission week one, so that each Wednesday night when you go through the energy transmission, you're connecting with the information, the curriculum, the teachings, the wisdom, the knowledge that we're supporting you and connecting with inside your own inner guidance during that transmission time. So we're not speaking to you during that time. We're not alive interacting with you. We are alive interacting with you, but through the ethers we are, through the energy waves that we are, so that you're focused really on connecting to your inner guidance and developing that rapport, that relatedness with your inner guidance, so that that feels really strong, really powerful, because that, right, your inner guidance is your inner navigation system that supports you, especially when we move into fear states like doubt or concern or overwhelm. And that helps guide you back out of those limiting states of being. And then soon we are releasing our book that we are so excited to share with everyone, called Leap of Consciousness. And we will support you with the links on how to purchase that at the time that it's released. And we want to share just so deeply and so profoundly and humbly. We are so grateful that you joined us for this 12-week series called Leap of Consciousness.
Absolutely.
We really look forward, right, to your feedback, your sharing. Please share with us. Please share with others how you're taking your leap of consciousness and how they can too. And I mean, you can send them our way if you feel that this information and this understanding is really here to support them, or you can share with what you learned. We are so dedicated for you to learn this material, to share with your children, your coworkers, your spouse, anyone in your family, your friends, and the community. Please share this with everyone that you know so that they can also experience lasting peace, understanding, and living in their true nature of love also.
Thank you so much for joining us on this 12-episode series. It was an honor and a pleasure to present this information to each of you. We feel very blessed to be a part of the Awake TV network, and we look forward to bringing even more shows to you in the future to raise consciousness everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you.